and today we are going to be doing a rolling waves with a sunset in the background watercolor tutorial. Please hit the like and subscribe and turn on your post notifications. Thank you. So right here I'm just grabbing my paint palette, some clean water, and Dr. Phil Martin's bleed proof white ink. Some Master's Touch watercolor tubes are my choice of watercolor, masking tape, Strathmore watercolor paper, and fine touch paintbrushes. So I'm going to be putting down on my paint palette cerulean blue watercolor, Bethalio blue, cobalt blue, and some Payne's gray. I really like this color. Zinc white, and some ivory black. With black, you can't really just put down a layer of black, you have to add some water. And then I'm also having some Viridian Hue watercolor. So I'm just going to grab a flat fine touch paintbrush and just go in with a light wash of Payne's gray. And then I add some white to make it a little bit lighter because this color wasn't really the color I wanted it to be. Later, I decide I don't like this and I go in and do a sunset because I wanted it to look like fog, and I just went in with a big wash of it and wasn't adding enough water, so I decided to go over it with a sunset later in the video. And now I'm starting on the waves, so I just take a flat paintbrush and take some turquoise and just do a really light lines with some blue. You just kind of go loose, put lines wherever you want, and then just keep getting it darker and darker and keep adding more layers and more layers and more layers until it starts to look like waves. Then let it dry a tiny bit and add a light wash of water, just to blend the waves together so it doesn't look like a pile of blue spaghetti. Now I'm going in with a bigger wave that later I will make even bigger. When I envision an ocean, I envision a dark turquoise, so once you keep getting your colors darker and darker, it will start becoming the color that you like. But don't go in right away with the darkest color, because then you won't have enough layers and it will just look like one big blue lake. So now I'm just going in with darker colors of blue and turning the waves a darker color. So on the right hand side, I went in with a lighter wave, which later I will make darker. And I turned the waves even darker like I said I would. And then adding just some more layers of dark blue waves. So now I'm just making the other wave darker so you can kind of see the reflection once we get the white on there. So now I'm just making the wave darker and taller, trying to make it look like it's gonna fall down and start rolling and becoming flat. Now I'm just making the right hand side wave brighter, and I made it a little bit too dark when too much water, so I went in and dabbed it with a little water with a paper towel. just adding some other little waves. I just didn't want it to be like a mountain range, so I decided I wanted to add a few more waves in the front. When I go over them with white later, they will look more like waves. Now I'm going in with some of my tinier paintbrushes and some Dr. Phil's bleed-proof white ink. And I'm just doing a couple dots at the top so it looks like it's kind of splashing down. And then I'm doing the white at the bottom where it is splashing down. So you just kind of take your paintbrush, put some white on it. Make sure it's not too wet though, otherwise it will just look like a white blob. And then you just kind of start doing little dots at the bottom. And then I'm just doing some other white little reflections around it. So right here I'm just drying off my paintbrush because I'm going to go in with some Dr. Phil Martin bleed-proof white and just add some splashes of waves. It might be easier to use an older paintbrush because the bristles would be more stiff so they wouldn't be bending when you're trying to pat the little dots down. So now I'm just going in with some water and trying to lighten up the waves a little bit on the bottom where it's crashing down. So I'm just drying it off again, going into some more dots and splashes. So now I'm just going in with some crimson red watercolor to start off the sunset, some ultra blue, some orange watercolor, and also some yellow med watercolor. I also needed some ivory black because I ran out. So first off, you want to start with a dark coat of black right at the top. You're going to need to add some water to it so that it will blend, but then you can go over it later and make the color darker. And then I add some blue, and then I kind of just brush the blue up into the black so they fade together. And then I added some ultra blue and some crimson red and did the same technique where I just brushed it up. Then I added some orange watercolor and brushed it up, and then I went over, and then I added some yellow, and then I went back with some ivory black watercolor, and I wanted to make the sunset darker, more vibrant, so that the colors would really pop out. So right now I'm just making the black darker, and then I made the blue darker, and then I just tried to fade them together by using light strokes to and doing an upward stroke. And then I wanted to use some rose watercolor so that it would be more pink and not so like reddish, darkish, not very pretty color. And then I went over it with a more vibrant orange and some yellow. And then I just kind of faded those two together and did an upward stroke side to side, and then just kept moving up. So now I'm going to go in, dry my brush, and stick it in the Dr. Phil Martin's Bleed Proof White. So right now I'm going to try to make splashes that I had covered up with the other colors. So now I'm just drying my brush off and dipping it back in the Dr. Martin's Bleed Proof White. And I'm going to try to make stars, but I did learn that you should do it with a dry brush. So I went back and got a old kid brush that I had from when I was younger. And this wasn't working well either, so I tried to add some water to it, and that worked much better. So right here is where I add the water, and I was totally shocked when I did this, and it was working so much better. So now I'm just satisfyingly peeling off this tape, and since this is time lapse, you have to imagine how slow I was going when I was doing this. It was so satisfying. So this is how my painting turned out. Thanks for watching.